Hi, it's Remy and welcome to this week's video. So in this week's video, I'm gonna share with you some few tips about taking long exposure type of photography along the beach, on the seaside. So I'm gonna talk about different things like the gear that you need, the places that you can go, the composition especially, that's a very important part obviously of this video. And like for those who don't know me yet and who haven't seen any video that I did previously, I am now in the Lofoten Islands for a few weeks, and now I am especially right now in Utaklief Beach, which is one of the most well-known beaches around the area. It's usually well known for the Eye of the Dragon, but it's kind of a crowded place, and so this time around I'm just gonna shoot at a different place. So I'm gonna go more in the front of the beach where there are like all these rounded stones where I can catch amazing long exposure photography, and obviously they act as a very good foreground. So let me also introduce you quickly to my channel. So I'm Remy, I told you this already, and I am traveling around and giving you some photography tips in amazing places in the world. And right now, so I'm in the north of Norway and I'm shooting from my motorhome, everything, the videos and organizing my pictures and everything just from my motorhome. So it's an exciting journey. It has its ups and downs, but in general, that's a kind of a really cool journey. So I really love it. And yeah, so if you really like the video that I'm sharing with you now or the previous ones, and if you want to follow more about my adventures, then you can click on the subscribe button below. And even if you like this video, please feel free to leave me a thumbs up. So yeah, let's get to this, and let's hope you enjoy it and you learn something. In terms of needed gear, so there are like only few accessories that you actually need, and if you're already doing quite a bit of landscape photography, then you might have actually most of it already. But okay, let's introduce the things anyways. So first thing first, here a tripod. I mean, the tripod is really the thing that you definitely need, because when you do long exposure, you might expose your shutter speed at like 1, 2, 3 seconds, sometimes less, sometimes more. It depends on the effects that you want to have. But yeah, you will need something that keeps you stable and that you don't move at all. So a tripod is essential. The second thing I am shooting with is obviously my camera, but the lens that I'm using is a wide angle, the ultra wide angle, the XF 10 to 24 millimeters. I'm also sometimes using my XF 18 to 55 millimeters. When I want to catch, when I want to reduce the depth of my image, and I want to catch more of the foreground closer to the background. But if I want to create like a real depth into my image, I would use my wide angle. The next item that I would use, and this is depending on the time of the day, these are like filters. So I don't know if you can see them. So this one is a ND filter 64, which is the equivalent of a 6-stop ND. But in case you want something stronger that you're shooting in the middle of the day, you might want to go for a 10-stop, which would be an ND mil then in this case. And the ND filters are really practical during the day when you have too strong lights and when you won't be able to slow down enough your speed. So get some. I would recommend 3, 6, and 10 stops, because you have like this pretty much all you need, and then you can act on the parameters of your camera for anything you want for the rest. Like either you have to increase a little bit your ISO, even if it's not always recommended. That's something that you might want to do, and for the rest, you should be fine. So that's actually pretty much it. What you need to do some long exposure photography, and for the rest, I guess. Now I'm gonna look for a different place and some nice composition, and let's share this with you. I actually found, I guess, a nice spot here where we have like kind of the stones leading towards the mountain over there. Now the weather is slightly overcast. I mean, not only slightly, it's overcast, and so we don't have an amazing light, but still the rest of the scene is quite great. And yeah, let me show you. I used my phone to do this. That's actually a nice trick. I mean, I think that maybe that most of you are already doing it, but for those who had no real idea, then when you look for some composition, try to look for with your phone. Use the wide angle if you're shooting with a wide angle or something to use with your phone. So that's pretty much what I'm gonna shoot, I guess, to start with. Maybe I get closer a little bit from the water to get more of the water flowing, because I thought the water was going a bit higher than this. I might need to go a little bit further than there. And so that I need to ensure, yes, that I have enough water flowing in front so that I have the long exposure effect that I want. Otherwise, this is no point to speak about long exposure, right? Now, what I'm also really trying to do is, like, if I go too low, I would only have the stones in front of me that goes to the mountain. And what I really want to do is to catch the foreground, the middle ground, that would be the water there, and on the background, the mountain. So I would need to put my camera a little bit higher than I would normally do, or the other option is to get closer to the sea, but now I don't have the right shoes for this, so I might get my feet totally wet, and that's probably something I don't want to do now, although that could be fun. So I guess I'm gonna get closer to a little bit closer, but not close enough so that my shoes get wet, so that I get really the stones. I can be a bit lower, get the sea, and get the background. And this would be like, I guess, the nice thing. And I see some nice water flow, and that's something you should observe each time. When you're shooting long exposure, observe how the water flows on the stones. And here I see a couple of stones where when the water goes on it, it really creates a nice drawing, a very beautiful effect. And that's something you want, because then after in post-processing, that plays a role. And even not only in post-processing, but in general, that really plays a big role. So I'm gonna look for this now. And now it's good because the water is going a little bit higher actually. So I'm gonna manage to catch some nice water flowing. I'm gonna try to do two types of exposures today. One will be more like a quick one, where I get like really the water movement and really have a feeling of movement into the water, which is something cool, and really that gives a strong dynamic to your pictures. And this I like a lot. And the second one is to really create a long exposure so that we really have a feeling of having a water like flying around, like not seeing any movement, but seeing that the water has been splashed, and that gives like kind of a small atmosphere to your photograph. And this is really something cool. So let's get to it now, because I want to make sure to catch my shot. Ah, non! Bon bah voilà, ça c'est fait. You guys just experienced a live event where I actually put my foot into the water, and I didn't wear my rubber boots, so that's the next piece of equipment you need to get. Get some rubber boots so that you can get into the water, and get a waterproof trouser. So the waterproof trouser will allow you, if you have your feet in the water, to avoid the splash coming inside the boots. And now it's getting really exciting, because I don't know if you can see those waves here, but that's what I'm trying to catch here. So I'm gonna place myself well, and now the light starts to be very beautiful. So place myself well, and I will try to do some long exposure, but not too long, so that we can get a beautiful movement into the water. So let's catch up on this. I am now in place to make my shooting, and there are amazing waves that are coming here. So, and luckily I have my rubber boots. You will hear a lot about them. I truly love to have them. So the idea here is basically to put yourself on like rifle shooting. So you will take several shots at once, and to go a little slower, like between 1/3 of a second and 1/10 of a second, depending on the lighting. Try to manage. That's why you might need actually a filter. So right now I don't need it because the light is pretty dimmed and there is no too much sunlight. But then when you see the wave coming, you just do a series of shots. You can have a cable release if you want to. I don't have one, and that's my own choice. Or you can just like go like I'm doing, and then after you will be able to catch the shot that you want. And trust me, that's pure wonder. That's the type of shot that you do when you want to have some actions in your photography and you want to create some type of movement. And here, the beautiful thing is that those stones are really like perfectly shaped and perfectly placed, and that's beautiful. Oh, that was wonderful. And somehow the bigger the wave, the nicer. What I recommend a little bit is to underexpose a little, because when you shoot like this, when the water splashes in front of you, and especially now that the foreground is darker, then when the water comes, it creates a white foam in front of you, white waves. And so you want to make sure that you're not overexposed, that you can catch up your highlights. So you'd rather underexpose a little bit and then be able to catch up all the highlights that you need and the shadows and post-processing. That's a really important step, something you should not omit. So really, little bigger waves are just a pure delight. Like this one, for example, could it be nice? Yeah, it's cool. And the light now is really great. I'm gonna go in portrait mode now and see what it gives. So I speak to you a bit later. So now the sky has opened up over there, and I just turned the camera so I'm like really facing the sea, but the weather is so cool that the sky is actually acting almost as a subject, and that's wonderful. Like it's like so much fun. The light is just perfect right now. So that's one of the rules I say in general. It's to always look back. So you were looking in one direction towards your subject, then just turn back and see what's happening behind you. Because if your subject is well lit, most probably the sky behind you is beautiful too. And that's what happened here. So I have a wonderful sky in front of me, and wow, I just can't let this pass. So there are like few stronger waves, meaning that I can play a bit around with my long exposures, and oh man, they're just amazing. I had amazing light there. It was wonderful, like perfect timing. And well, as I said before, always look back, look one side, look the other, and see what's happening. You won't regret it, that's for sure. And you might actually even get better shots by looking back than what you were supposed to shoot in the first place. Anyways, now there are like two cool things. So it started snowing a little bit. Now it's slowed down a little bit, but it's blue hour, meaning that I will be able to get closer to the water and do a long exposure to make like this kind of vibe into the water, like the water floating around the stones. And I'm gonna use a ND filter. I'm gonna use ND6 because I don't have an ND3, like 3 stops. I'm gonna use the 6 stops, which means that I'm gonna shoot a bit longer, but anyways, that's the effect I want to create, so there is no problem. And let's see what it gives. But I'm pretty sure that now it's gonna be like kind of really interesting, so let's hope for the best. am now shooting here closer to the beach, and as I said, I put my ND filter, my 6 stops, that makes me shoot at about like 15 seconds. I increased a little bit the ISO to 320 right now, and that's actually giving me a perfect smooth and silk water, and the effect is just wonderful. It's just like it provides like such an atmosphere. It's rare that I do long exposure in that way, but in this situation it's kind of perfect and I truly love it. So I think instead of talking a lot as I'm doing, maybe I better show you some photographs so that you can realize how cool this can be. So that's it, we're reaching the end of this video. I had a lot of fun, a little bit of challenge here, but overall it was really cool. I'm really happy about the photographs I took around the area. I hope that you had a lot of fun watching it, that you learned something, that you won't make the same mistakes as I made, like for example with my foot in the water, and that you will get the right gear when you come here to photograph. And actually that doesn't have to be here in Utaklief. Of course, this is a beautiful beach and this is kind of like iconic beach, but there are like so many beaches in the world where you can do this, like so many rocks. I was doing something similarly in France some times ago, like in the Brittany region, which is also a beautiful coast. If you are like wherever in the world, I'm sure you will have coasts that are not too far from your place, or even if you go on vacation now, you know what kind of shot you can take. So we're reaching the end. I hope you had fun, and that's the most important. And I guess see you next week for another video and a lot of fun here in the north of Norway.